The alien king offered him riches. Instead, the human asked for his fiercest daughter. The great hall of the Aurelian throne world was silent in a way that made lesser beings uncomfortable. The ceiling rose so high that clouds drifted beneath it, held in place by gravity fields older than most civilizations. Pillars carved from crystal bone lined the hall, each one etched with the names of conquered stars. At the far end, upon a throne shaped from the armor of fallen kings, sat the alien king. He had ruled longer than humanity had known fire. Before him stood a single human. Marcus Hale did not look impressive by Aurelian standards. He was shorter, softer, and fragile in appearance. His bones were thin. His skin showed scars not grown in ritual combat but earned through long, quiet suffering. He wore no armor, only a dark uniform with the symbol of Earth stitched over his heart. His hands were empty. His back was straight. Around him, the Aurelian court watched with open curiosity. These beings were warriors born, raised in combat pits and tested through conquest. To them, humans were still a strange idea, newcomers who had survived trials meant to break them, but still unproven. The king leaned forward, his many eyes narrowing slightly. "You have endured what no other young species has," the king said, his voice echoing like stone grinding against stone. "You crossed the dead reach. You survived the silent war. You stood when older races begged." Marcus inclined his head, respectful but not submissive. "You have earned a reward," the king continued. "Ask human riches, worlds, weapons, lifespan beyond decay. My word binds the stars." A ripple of interest moved through the court. This was no small thing. When the Aurelian king made such an offer, empires were built in a single breath. Marcus did not answer right away. He looked around the hall at the trophies of civilizations that had chosen power over purpose. He thought of Earth, scarred, stubborn, alive. He thought of humanity's long history of being underestimated, pushed, broken, and still standing. Then he spoke. "I do not want riches," Marcus said. The court murmured. The king's eyes narrowed further, amused. "I do not want worlds," Marcus continued, "or weapons, or longer life." The silence deepened. "I ask for your fiercest daughter." For a heartbeat, the universe seemed to pause. Then the hall exploded into noise. Warriors shouted, blades half unsheathed. Honor guards stepped forward, their armor flaring with threat signals. To speak of the king's daughter so plainly was not just bold, it bordered on sacrilege. At the foot of the throne, a figure stepped forward. She was tall even for her kind, her frame built like a living weapon. Old scars crossed her armor and her skin alike, marks of victories earned, not given. Her eyes burned with controlled fury, not the wild rage of youth, but the cold focus of someone who had never lost. This was the king's daughter. She looked at Marcus as one might look at a puzzle or prey. "Explain," she said. Her voice was sharp, precise. "Before this becomes your last mistake." Marcus met her gaze without flinching. "I did not ask for you as a possession," he said calmly, "nor as a prize." The king raised one massive hand and the guards froze. He studied the human carefully now. "Speak," the king said. Marcus drew a slow breath. "Humanity has learned something the hard way," he said. "Power given is power owed, wealth fades, technology breaks, empires fall." He gestured lightly toward the carved pillars. "You know this better than anyone." The king said nothing. "We do not want to be protected by the conquered," Marcus went on. "And we do not want to rule it. We want to belong to the future that comes after war." The daughter's eyes narrowed. "And you think bonding with me achieves that?" she asked. "No," Marcus said honestly. "I think it proves whether we deserve it." The honesty surprised them. "In your culture," Marcus continued, "a bond forged through trial is stronger than any treaty. Your fiercest warriors do not follow crowns, they follow respect." He looked back to the king. "If humanity is to stand among the galaxy's strongest, we must do so openly. Not as clients, not as children, but as equals willing to share risk, blood, and responsibility." The court quieted again. This was not greed. This was something far more dangerous. The daughter laughed once, sharp and humorless. "You are weak," she said. "You would break under our trials." "Probably," Marcus replied. That answer drew another wave of surprise. "But humans have broken before," he added, "and we learned how to keep going anyway." The king leaned back, considering. "There are laws older than your species," he said slowly. "If such a request is made, it must be tested." The daughter's smile widened, fierce and eager. "Let me test him," she said. "Personally." Marcus nodded. "I expected nothing less." The king rose from his throne. The movement alone caused the hall to tremble. "Very well," he declared. "The human has invoked the right of equal bond." Gasps echoed. Even among the Aurelians this was rare. "The trials will begin," the king continued. "Body, mind, honor." He turned his gaze back to Marcus. "If you fail," he said, "your species loses its voice in this council, forever." Marcus swallowed once. "And if I succeed?" he asked. The king's expression was unreadable. "Then the galaxy will change," he said. The daughter stepped closer to Marcus. She towered over him, her presence heavy with promise and threat. "I will not go easy," she said quietly. "I will try to break you." Marcus looked up at her. "I wouldn't respect you if you didn't." For the first time, something like interest flickered in her eyes. As Marcus was escorted from the hall toward the trial chambers, whispers followed him. Some called him brave, others called him foolish. A few quietly called him dangerous. He did not hear them, his thoughts were on Earth. On humans watching from distant stars, not knowing if this gamble would cost them everything. He felt fear, yes, but also something else. Hope, because humanity had never survived by asking for comfort. They survived by stepping forward when the cost was high, the odds unfair, and the future uncertain. And this time would be no different. Marcus woke to pain. Not sharp pain, not the kind that made one scream, but deep and heavy, like his bones had been filled with stone. He opened his eyes slowly. The ceiling above him was dark metal, marked with old scratches and burns. He was lying on a hard surface. His arms and legs felt weak, but they moved when he told them to. He was alive. That alone meant the first test had not killed him. A low sound echoed through the chamber. Footsteps, heavy, steady, unhurried. The king's daughter entered the room. She wore no armor now, only a simple battle wrap, but she still looked just as dangerous. Her eyes studied Marcus the way a storm studies land, not with hate, but with focus. "You lasted longer than expected," she said. Marcus pushed himself up to a sitting position. His head spun, but he forced it to stop. "That's been said about humans before," he replied. She did not smile. "The first trial was endurance," she said. "Your muscles failed early, your heart rate spiked beyond safe limits." "And yet," Marcus said quietly, "I'm still here." She nodded once. "You are." She turned and walked toward an open doorway. "Come." The next trial begins. The second chamber was larger, empty except for a single platform in the center. The air felt different here, thicker, heavier, as if it pressed against the mind instead of the body. Marcus stepped onto the platform. The doors sealed. The daughter's voice echoed from everywhere at once. "This is a mind trial," she said. "No strength, no weapons, only truth." The world around Marcus changed. The platform vanished. The chamber vanished. He stood on Earth. Not the Earth of clean skies and hopeful futures, but the Earth of history. Cities burned. Sirens screamed. People ran, cried, fought. He saw wars humanity had never fully healed from. He saw hunger, fear, failure. Then he saw something worse. He saw a future where humanity failed. Earth cracked under alien bombardment. Fleets burned. Children hid underground while stars fell from the sky. Humanity begged older races for help and was ignored. "You are weak," the daughter's voice said. "Your species is young." "Short-lived, you burn fast and fade." Marcus clenched his fists. "You will be forgotten," the voice continued. "Your bones will be dust before our wars even end." The pressure increased. His head throbbed. His chest felt tight. He dropped to one knee. Then he laughed. The sound was rough, broken, but real. "That's it," he said. "That's your weapon." The images froze. The daughter appeared before him, her expression sharp. "You deny reality?" she asked. "No," Marcus said, breathing hard. "I accept it." He stood, legs shaking. "Yes, humans die faster. Yes, we lose more than we win. Yes, sometimes we disappear." He looked at the frozen image of Earth burning. "But every time we fall," he said, "we leave something behind." The scene shifted. Humans rebuilding, helping each other, standing back up. "We are not remembered because we last," Marcus said. "We are remembered because we act." The pressure faded. The illusion shattered. The doors opened. The daughter stared at him, silent for a long moment. "You did not fight the vision," she said slowly. "You accepted it." "We don't survive by pretending," Marcus replied. "We survive by choosing anyway." The third trial came sooner than he expected. A combat arena. Not a simple ring, but a layered field of moving platforms, energy walls, and shifting gravity. Weapons lined the walls, alien blades, pulse arms, tools made for bodies stronger than his. The daughter stepped into the arena across from him, fully armored now. "This is the final trial," she said. "Honor." A weapon rose from the floor in front of Marcus. A blade light enough for him to lift, sharp enough to kill. "You may fight," she said, "or you may yield." Marcus picked up the blade. The signal sounded. She moved like lightning. Marcus barely had time to react. He dodged, rolled, blocked. Each strike from her sent pain through his arms. He was slower, weaker, she knew it. She drove him back again and again, forcing him toward the edge of a platform. "Fight," she demanded. "Show me something." Marcus saw it then, a faint glow beneath the platform. A hidden energy charge, a trap. It was designed so that if she delivered the final blow in that position, the platform would overload, killing them both. A test of dominance, of pride. She did not see it. He did. In that moment, Marcus understood the true trial. He dropped his blade. The court gasped. She hesitated, confused. Marcus stepped forward, hands open, and shoved her backward with everything he had. She stumbled just enough to avoid the trap. The platform exploded behind him. Marcus was thrown across the arena. The world went white. When he woke, he was on the floor, barely conscious. Pain filled every part of him. He could not move. The daughter stood over him, frozen in place. "You knew," she said softly. "You saw it." "Yes," Marcus whispered. "You chose to lose," she said. "Yes." "Why?" she demanded. Marcus forced his eyes open to look at her. "Because winning like that would have meant nothing," he said. "And your life was worth more than my pride." Silence filled the arena. The king rose from his throne. "The trial is complete," he declared. The court erupted not in anger but in awe. The daughter knelt, not in submission, in respect. "You are broken," she said to Marcus. "Weak, short-lived." She met his eyes. "And you are dangerous." Marcus smiled faintly. "I'll take that as a compliment." The king approached them both. "Humans do not conquer as we do," he said. "They bind, they endure, they choose others over themselves." He looked out at the court. "This is not a species that asks for protection," he said. "This is a species that becomes family." He turned to his daughter. "Do you accept?" he asked. She stood tall. "I do," she said, "as an equal." The banners of humanity rose beside those of the Aurelians. Across the galaxy, other species watched and understood too late. Humans did not climb power structures. They changed them, and the future would never be the same again. The news did not spread slowly. It exploded. Across the Aurelian conquered and beyond, star systems paused their wars, halted trade routes, and redirected information nets to a single truth that felt impossible. Humanity had not asked for protection. Humanity had not demanded power. Humanity had been accepted. Marcus Hale stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city of the Aurelian homeworld. The sky burned with strange colors as ships moved in silent patterns above. His body was still healing. Every breath reminded him how close he had come to death. Beside him stood the king's daughter. Her name, spoken now with respect across the stars, carried weight even before this moment. She stood with arms crossed, eyes fixed on the distant horizon. "You have changed things," she said. Marcus gave a small smile. "We tend to do that by accident." "No," she replied, "this was not an accident." Below them, Aurelian warriors trained in open plazas, humans now trained among them, smaller, slower, but stubborn, always learning. "They are watching us," she continued. "Other species, they fear what this means." "Good," Marcus said simply. She turned to him, studying his face. "You are not afraid?" "I am," Marcus answered honestly, "but fear has never stopped us before." Within days, the reaction came. An emergency council was called. Representatives from dozens of species arrived, some openly hostile, others quietly worried. The great chamber filled with voices that had once spoken over humanity without listening. Now they had no choice. "This alliance is a threat," declared a tall, silver-skinned delegate from an ancient empire. "Humans are unpredictable, emotional, violent." Marcus stood calmly as the words echoed. "Yes," he said, "we are," murmurs rippled. "But we are also loyal," Marcus continued. "And we do not abandon those who stand with us." Another voice rose. "You manipulated ancient law." "No," Marcus said. "We followed it. You simply forgot what it was for." The king's daughter stepped forward then. The room fell silent instantly. "You fear humans because you do not understand them," she said. "You measure strength in years and bodies. Humans measure it in choices." She looked directly at the delegates. "They will die sooner than us. They know this, and still they step forward." Silence followed. Then something worse arrived. An external signal, long-range, emergency level, an old enemy. A force even the conquered had never fully defeated moved from dark space, drawn by the sudden shift in power. Entire systems went silent as the threat advanced. Fear spread fast. Fleets were mobilized, plans were argued, blame circled the room. Marcus listened, then he spoke. "Send us first." The chamber froze. "You are not ready," one delegate snapped. "Your fleets are small." "Yes," Marcus agreed, "but we adapt faster than you plan." The king's daughter met his eyes. She understood immediately. Humans moved quickly. Within hours, joint task forces formed. Human ships integrated with Aurelian command structures. Where other species hesitated, humans volunteered. Marcus stood aboard a human cruiser watching stars stretch as the fleet jumped into hostile space. Fear was everywhere, but so was purpose. The enemy struck hard, ancient weapons tore through shields, entire formations collapsed. Older species fell back, following doctrine written centuries ago. Humans did not. They changed tactics mid-battle, sacrificed ships to save others, used broken debris as weapons, jammed signals with systems meant for civilian rescue. The king's daughter watched from the command deck of her flagship as a human frigate deliberately placed itself between her ship and a killing strike. The human ship was destroyed, but her ship survived. Her hands clenched. They won the battle, not cleanly, not perfectly, but decisively. When the enemy retreated, something else happened. The other species did not cheer, they stared. Humans mourned their dead quietly, names recorded, stories shared, no statues, no glory chants, just remembrance. The king's daughter understood then what made humans dangerous. They did not fight to be praised, they fought because someone had to. Back on the Aurelian homeworld, the king addressed the galaxy. "Humanity has proven what we tested," he said. "They do not seek thrones. They seek responsibility." He turned his gaze toward Marcus. "They are not the strongest," the king continued. "They are not the longest-lived." The king's voice hardened. "But when the cost is highest, they pay it without asking who will remember." The conquered changed that day. Not because humans demanded it, because no one could deny it. Marcus stood once more on the balcony, watching ships depart for rebuilding missions instead of war. The king's daughter joined him. "You will be gone in a few decades," she said quietly. "I will still be here." Marcus nodded. "I know." "And still," she said, "you chose this path." Marcus looked at the stars. "We always do," he said, "because the future isn't built by those who last the longest." He turned to her. "It's built by those who show up when it matters." She placed her hand over his, not as a symbol, not as ownership, but as shared ground. Somewhere far away, children of many species would grow up in a galaxy reshaped by a short-lived people who refused to stay small. And long after Marcus Hale became history, the galaxy would remember one simple truth. Humans were never meant to rule the stars. They were meant to stand in them. Time passed in a way that felt slow to the long-lived species and fast to the humans. Marcus Hale aged. His hair turned gray, then white. Lines formed around his eyes and mouth. His body, once strong enough to survive impossible trials, now needed rest more often. But his mind remained sharp and his presence still carried weight. Across the conquered, humans spread. Not as conquerors, as builders. Human engineers worked beside Aurelian architects to create stations that could repair themselves. Human doctors helped species whose biology had never adapted to peace. Human teachers taught children of many worlds how to solve problems instead of waiting for orders. Some species resisted at first. Humans were too loud, too emotional, too quick to question tradition. But slowly, systems stabilized, trade increased, wars became fewer. When conflicts did happen, humans were often the first to stand between enemies and say, "There is another way." The king's daughter watched all of this closely. She had fought in 100 battles before meeting Marcus. She had broken enemies and crushed rebellions. Strength had always been simple to her. Humans made it complicated. She saw humans argue with each other openly, then work together without hesitation. She saw them grieve deeply and still move forward. She saw them build memorials not to celebrate victory, but to remember loss. One day, she asked Marcus a question she had carried for years. "Why do you care so much about what comes after you?" she asked. They were sitting in a quiet garden on the Aurelian homeworld. The sky above glowed with stars that Marcus knew he would never see up close. Marcus smiled gently. "Because we won't be there," he said. She frowned. "That makes no sense." "It makes perfect sense to humans," Marcus replied. "If we don't build something better than ourselves, then we failed." News arrived one morning that shook the conquered. The old enemy was moving again, not attacking, collapsing. Its vast systems were breaking down. Their ancient technology, built only for war, could not sustain itself without constant conquest. Their worlds were dying. A debate erupted. Let them fall, some said. They never showed mercy. Others feared a trap. The king's daughter looked to Marcus. What would humans do? She asked. Marcus did not answer immediately. Then he said, we'd help. Shock spread through the chamber when the proposal was made. They killed billions, a delegate shouted. They tried to erase us. Yes, Marcus said calmly, and if we let them die now, we become the same thing. The vote was close, but in the end, the conquered agreed. Human ships led the aid fleet, not warships, supply vessels. Medical craft, engineers, the enemy did not trust them at first, but humans stayed. They repaired systems, stabilized planets, shared food, shared knowledge. They asked for nothing. When the crisis ended, something unexpected happened. The enemy surrendered, not in chains. In silence, they simply stopped fighting. The galaxy changed again. Years later, Marcus lay in a quiet room overlooking the stars. His body was weak now. Machines helped him breathe. His eyes were tired but peaceful. The king's daughter stood beside him. You are dying, she said softly. Yes, Marcus replied. You are not afraid. No, he said. I've seen enough. She was silent for a long time. You will be remembered, she said finally. Marcus shook his head slightly. Not me, he said. Us. Outside, a group of children passed by the window. Human, Aurelian, others laughing together. That's enough, Marcus whispered. When Marcus Hale died, there was no grand funeral. There was a moment of silence across the conquered. Ships stopped. Cities paused. Even distant frontier worlds went quiet. Then life continued, because that was the lesson humans had taught them. The king's daughter lived on. She became a bridge between eras. When new species joined the conquered, she told them stories of humans, of short lives and long shadows. She kept one human saying close to her heart, show up when it matters. Centuries later, a young species asked a question in the Great Hall. Why do humans still have so much influence? They asked. They are gone. The king's daughter smiled. Because they never tried to rule, she said. They tried to care. Across the galaxy, monuments stood, not statues of humans as kings or gods, but simple markers. Here humans helped, here humans stood, here humans chose others. The stars burned on. And somewhere in the quiet between them, humanity's legacy remained, not as rulers of the galaxy, but as the reason it survived itself.